with us. We had a little technical glitch there. It looks like we're kicked off, ready to go now. So my name is Tyler Berry. I'm with Advanced Systems Group. We appreciate your guys' time today. I also want to thank Julie Gantner, who's our Director of Marketing for ASG. She's done a fantastic job of putting this together and helping us pick the right way to market this. I also want to thank all of our presenters who you will meet later on. If you're new to Advanced Systems Group, just a little bit about us. Over the last 13 years, we've become one of the largest installers of production, post-production, and shared storage systems on the West Coast. We have offices in the Bay Area, Southern California, and also Denver. We provide engineering, systems integration, support, and training to the broadcast, film, creative, and corporate video markets. We've also worked hard to stay ahead of the technology learning curve, which is not always easy these days, and have over 200 systems throughout the nation that we've installed and continue to support. As I mentioned, my name is Tyler Berry. I started off in the industry with Apple Computer back in 2002, back when it was still pretty much a computer company, and migrated into the tech side of the video world after that. Spent most of my time in the industry in the VAR world, but also worked for a company called The Reality Technica that builds stereo 3D camera rigs down in Burbank in California. And I joined ASG about 3 years ago and am currently in a business development role. It's a fantastic company to be a part of. So we try to put on events that answer questions and solve problems our customers have. And in the past, we've done events such as choosing the right NLE, the ins and outs of a SAN, stereoscopic 3D. We do actually have some upcoming events too. I just want to touch on December 4th, we have our annual workflow event held at New People Cinema in San Francisco for those of you who are local. This year it's all about 4K, so it's going to be a large raster workflow challenges workshop, and it'll be a full day of presentations and in-depth discussion on how to work with large raster formats, all the way from acquisition to delivery. And then on December 11th, we have another webinar like this at 10 a.m. Pacific time called the ABCs of MAMs, where we'll dive into different types of MAMs or asset management solutions and who should use them and what to look for. So today's event, we decided to focus on something that is becoming more and more important in today's digital world, and that's archive. If you feel a little overwhelmed by trying to decide what to keep, how to keep it, how to organize it, you're not alone. Even back in 2008, see if I can get the name right, the Science and Technology Council of the Academy of Motion Pictures and Science put out a brief called The Digital Dilemma, and it spotlighted the challenges that we're facing today and this new age of technology where you can no longer just label a tape, throw it on a shelf, and keep it there for 10 years. The need's pretty clear for a solution that allows you to choose what you archive, how you do it, and do it in a way that the assets can be easily found and, just as importantly, easily restored to an online state. So a couple of points, just know the difference between archive and backup, have a proper plan for each one. Backup is a totally separate topic, definitely one that's important though and needs to have some focus. And if you have just like 2 or 3 minutes, there's a great example of how important backup is. There's a story about how Toy Story 2 almost never made it to the big screen due to some backup issues. And I can actually post a link on that if anyone's interested, but it's a really great story that emphasizes the importance of your backup. But for archive, take the time to properly plan out your deployment. Don't overreach. And most importantly, hire an experienced person or pro that has done it before so they can help you plan it out and deploy it properly. This will also help you budget properly and stick to it. That way there are no unrealistic expectations. So as you're probably aware, there are a number of players in the archive space. We here at ASG could not possibly, nor would we want to partner with every single person out there. Our method has always been to find the select few that are the cream of the crop, so to speak, and partner with them to put out the right solution for our customers. So today we have selected 3 of our archive partners to take part in this webinar. They are Cache, Zen Data, and Quantum. And each will have about 20 minutes followed by a brief Q&A before moving to the next partner. If those of you on the call want to just type out any questions during it, we can keep track of those and then ask later on to make sure we get those questions answered for you. So first we have Cache. Cache Corporation was founded in 2008 to develop archive solutions targeting the digital film and professional video industry. Their management is dedicated to the development of innovative low-cost backup, archive, and recovery solutions for professional video file-based workflows. And from Cache, we are honored to have Mark Osland. Mark, just a bit about him real quick. He's the founder and vice president of marketing and sales for Cache Corporation. He's a background in software engineering and marketing. He has over 20 years experience tailoring computer technology to the needs of broadcast and entertainment industries. And as a R&D manager for Philips BTS, He managed the development of the world's very first HD TV disc recorder for the 1992 Olympics in Barcelona. And then he took over marketing responsibilities for the Media Pool video server product line. He joined HP in '96, responsible for strategic planning for their video communications division and the Media Stream video server, and later joined Quantum as director of rich media products. So with that, I'll turn the time over to Mark, and we'll learn about the cache solution.
Okay, thanks Tyler and Julie. I appreciate being part of your webinar. Can you hear me and see my first slide?
Looks great.
Okay, super. So I have a quick agenda of things that I'll cover this morning. You already mentioned archive versus backup, very key distinction. A little bit about the history of archiving in the media and entertainment space. Some of the archive media alternatives, and then we'll drill into the benefits of LTO over all other archive media types. We'll talk about some best practices in the M&E space for archiving, and then some open standard formats, LTFS and TAR, and their significance. And then a few slides on how Cache puts it all together in archiving solutions for media and entertainment. So archive versus backup, you mentioned they're very different, and they are. Backup is a different problem that it's trying to solve. It's for disaster recovery, to get what was already on your hard disks back on your hard disk so you can keep executing your mission. Whereas archiving is about moving stuff off of your hard disk for long-term preservation, and the ability to do that at the lowest cost possible with the highest reliability possible. And another distinction with archiving is that the archive must be searchable, whereas a lot of backup solutions are not searchable. They simply restore everything back onto your hard drives. Whereas in archive, you may be interested in one or a select number of assets to retrieve and work with for a derivative work. So historically, we kind of had what were natural archives, which was videotape and film. We would simply save the sources, save the EDL or the cut list, and we could always get back to the original state that we were editing from. But now with digital sources coming out of cameras, there's no source master to go back to. So, a lot of people initially thought, well, why not just use hard drives? Many people, for the convenience of work groups, bought a big SAN or NAS solution. And then they would move content onto removable hard drives and put them on the shelf for long-time storage. The problem with using hard drives is that the drives wear out and need to be replaced. There are very expensive power and cooling costs that add up fast. And eventually a big SAN or NAS will fill up and you're faced with a problem. Are you going to do a forklift upgrade? You're going to add more, just continue adding disk with cooling and heating costs going up accordingly. In fact, the total cost of ownership of disk, even though disks are fairly cheap, but by the time you put it in the system and pay for the real estate and the heating and cooling, it is 15 to 25 times that of data tape. Then removable hard drives were actually designed to be spinning. So now you're putting them on a shelf and they can suffer from signal loss just sitting there. In fact, sometimes in as little as 6 months to a year if the signals are not refreshed. So in normal operations, hard drives go out and refresh the signals on the platters periodically while they're spinning. And that doesn't happen when they're sitting on the shelf. So we've seen a lot of customers have irretrievably lost content as a result of storing them on hard drives. Also, the error correction in hard drives is not considered archive quality. What do I mean by that? Well, it's actually less bit error correction. It's 10 to the minus 15th instead of 10 to the minus 17th. And also, they put all of the error correction bits in the sector where the data is. So if that spot develops problems, you're going to lose your error correction bits as well. So what data tape does is it actually spreads those error correction bits not only over the same sector, but adjacent sectors on adjacent tracks and then linearly down the tape. So that if any spot on the tape develops problems, there's enough error correction bits spread out adjacent to it that they can still recover the data. So what other alternatives have people considered? Optical is one, of course, with Blu-ray and others, but it's slow, it's expensive, and once again, it's consumer grade, it's not archive quality. So that brings us back to tape, and we thought we were getting away from tape, going tapeless, in fact. But I think most people, when they say they're going tapeless, they're referring to videotapeless. And there still is a place for data tape in professional video workflows. There's a sense that it's hard to use, and in a lot of IT solutions it is. It takes an IT staff to run it. But what is the reason that most of our industry is now coming back to LTO tape as the preferred and recommended archive medium for long-term safe storage? First of all, it has a 30-year shelf life. It will only lose 15 dB of signal over 30 years, which is plenty of signal left. It will probably go many years beyond 30 years with recoverable signals on the tape. It does something we call read behind write. So there's a read head behind the write heads, and it reads everything it wrote, and if it sees bit errors, it rewrites what it just wrote again. Okay, so it knows with confidence that it got a good write. Hard drives don't do that. You would have to actually go back and verify the hard drive in order to get this level of confidence. I mentioned it has 1 in 10 to the minus 7th bit error rate. That's one bad, unrecoverable bit in 12.5 petabytes. And essentially that will still tell you had a bit error. So it's not like there was an error that you didn't know about. But that's pretty astounding that you can record that much data before you experience an unrecoverable bit error. It's very fast. It's actually faster than hard drives. It moves data at 140 megabytes a second onto LTO. It's high capacity. It's 1.5 terabytes per cartridge native. In the IT space, they say that's 3 terabytes, but that's because they're getting some compression. Most of the stuff that we record in M&E is already compressed, and you don't get any additional compression as a result. It's very low cost, so it's less than 4 cents per gigabyte. It's scalable. So in other words, you can just keep writing tapes and have essentially it's scaling into the future infinitely. It's green. There's no power required to store those tapes. It has a very large installed base, so our industry is leveraging the IT industry. This is what banks and governments and and Fortune 500 companies all put their archives on. So there are over 200 million cartridges of LTO have shipped and over 4 million drives. So that means that you are using an archive format that is so pervasive that you'll be able to find drives and restore your content for years into the future. LTO has some open standards, although most backup solutions use proprietary formats. That's another reason that backup is dangerous for archive. But at Cache, we started with tar. That is a open format that's been around a long time, so you did not ever need Cache to access your content. And now there's a new format called LTFS that we'll talk a little bit more about that is becoming fairly ubiquitous. LTO is removable, it's transportable, it's shareable. Some best practices for archiving to LTO would be, for example, to make multiple copies. You get vastly improved error rates. For example, instead of 10 to the minus 17th, with 2 copies, you're now 10 to the minus 34. You might take one of those copies and put it in a separate location for disaster readiness. You have the option of using an open format, as I mentioned, which is tar or LTFS. That makes it future-proof as well as shareable with other applications and users who may have a different LTO solution. One of the best practices you need for using LTO is to decide if you need automation. So Cache sells robotic libraries, but the majority of our customers don't buy them, and the reason is it's largely around data requirements. So with a single drive in an appliance, you can archive 2 to 3 terabytes a day during normal working hours. So that would be 1.5 terabytes if you're making 2 copies, or 3 terabytes if you're making only 1 copy. If you have more than that 2 tape per day need, then you can add a robotic library and it will sit there and load tapes all night long. And you can get up to 6 to 8 terabytes per drive per day. So why do we say a lot of customers don't need automation? A lot of archive solutions are purely built around automation. And it comes down to some studies that have been done recently in which 90% of content in the M&E space is never accessed again. 6% is accessed once over its lifetime, and 4% is accessed frequently. The problem is you don't know which 10% you're going to need in the future, so you archive it all. But the main point is you just need to know that you can find it and restore it quickly back into your editing environment. And we think that shelf storage is just fine for that. The main thing is that you've got it indexed in a database, you can find it, you can go get it off the shelf and get it back into your disk-based environment. So a little bit more about the tar format. It's mature, it's been around over 30 years, it's stable, it's a POSIX standard, works on any media, including LTO. There are Unix, Linux, Windows, and Mac versions of tar. It does tape spanning built in other words, if you have a project larger than 1.5 terabytes, it will automatically span that across as many cartridges as it takes to hold it. As opposed to the new LTFS standard, tar, however, is not self-describing, and it's a little more technical. In other words, you have to use a shell script or a scripting interface to access it. However, Cache overcame all of those limitations of tar, so we actually put a table of contents on our tar implementation so that you have the ability to access any single file and know what's on that tape without having to restore the entire cartridge like you do in most tar implementations. Now we have the new LTFS format, which Cache has been involved with IBM and HP since its inception. The good news is that LTFS makes tape look like disk. The bad news is LTFS makes tape look like disk. If you treat tape like disk, you will have problems, and this has been frustrating for a lot of people who have tried the basic off-the-shelf LTFS implementations out there. You get severe performance issues if you try to do multi-user stuff, if you try to access it from an application. You'll get a lot of fragmentation. Some operations, instead of taking minutes or hours, can end up taking days and weeks because of all the seeking around different file systems and applications will attempt to do because it thinks it's a random access media, and it's not. There are, however, ways to use LTFS. We have a white paper on LTFS on our website that goes over that. And then there are a lot of manufacturers who are building software layers on top of LTFS that hide all of those linear issues from users so that they have a positive instead of a frustrating experience. But there are open source versions available on the web from all the major manufacturers, including IBM, HP, and Quantum. To deploy them, you need to assign a computer, you need to buy a tape drive, you need to get a host bus adapter, then you need to install the baseline software. But like I said, the best implementations of LTFS are usually built into other software systems that hide some of the issues that LTFS has. Now the Cache LTFS implementation has some capabilities built on top of LTFS, including the fact that we add an additional catalog to the one that's already there. And that's because we preserve additional metadata and make all of the content searchable in our database. We include URL encoding to support real-world file naming. In other words, there are illegal characters under LTFS that are not illegal on some file systems, especially Macintosh. And if you try to archive that stuff without the ability to mask those illegal characters and then restore them when you're bringing it back, the solution just won't work for you. And then we handle file ordering issues behind the scenes so that those are all hidden, and we go get the files in the order that they are on the tape rather than the order in which they're being requested by the file system, for example. We provide disk caching to address the linear nature of tape. We've also added tape spanning, which is not part of the LTFS solution, but Cache has done tape spanning, so you don't have to break your large projects up. We will automatically span them across as many LTFS cartridges as you need to hold them. We can also do high-speed dubbing of LTFS cartridges, and we've extended LTFS into library operations. Some of our customers use tar for some things and LTFS for other things. That's completely allowed in Cache implementations. Some use tar for their main archive, and then they make LTFS tapes for interchange purposes. So where is LTO being deployed in the M&E space? We talked about finally having a source master that is reliable and economical. So the tape sources go to an LTO. Then when a project is done, the entire project is archived to LTO. So this is one way to have two copies without actually making two copies of exactly the same thing. You archive your sources and you archive your projects. And then the catalog within the appliance remembers every tape that it's ever seen, so it's searchable. And then LTO is also used for content interchange. We have, for example, news bureaus and that are moving content around news organizations, and we also have post-production facilities that are using LTO as the deliverable to the studio or customer that contracted a particular work. So how did Cache bring all of this together into archiving solutions? We developed what we call standalone archive solutions. You basically plug them into your network and they show up without you needing to load any software on any of your clients. You use your file system or your browser to archive and access the archive. It's completely cross-platform. We have desktop solutions, we have rack mount solutions, and we have automated libraries for those that need them. With all of our solutions, you get unlimited shelf-stored content. Our latest archive appliance is known as PowerCache. It has 8 terabytes of RAID, and the OS runs off of an SSD. It has enough speed and power to control 4 140 megabyte LTO5 drives concurrently. So you could have up to 4 drives total in a combination of external expansion chassis or libraries. PowerCache has both GigE and dual 10 GigE NICs for high-speed network archiving. We have a 24-slot library and a 48-slot library, and you can put up to 2 drives in the 24 slot and 4 drives in the 48 slot. One of the most powerful configurations uses 1 drive in an expansion chassis, such as here, and 3 drives in a library, so that you can maximize your archiving and still be able to easily get a cartridge off the shelf and put it into an external drive to restore content over the network. All of the Cache archive appliances come with what we call Support Connect, and our support technicians can come in over the internet and fix 99% of anything that might go wrong with your system. Thank you very much for your time.
All right, thanks, Mark. I haven't seen any questions come across. If anyone out there has any questions, feel free to post them. If not, we'll go ahead and move on to the next one. Mark, thank you very much for that. Next up, we have Chris Stone from Zen Data. Just a quick note on Zen Data. They were founded in 2001. They're a leading provider of professional and digital archive solutions focused on the needs of the media and entertainment industry. They have digital video archives installed in over 50 countries, TV stations, video production companies, post-production organizations, and media departments of large corporations and government organizations. And their offices are in Walnut Creek, California, and Cambridge in the UK, which actually Chris is across the pond now. We appreciate Chris staying up late and getting on with us. And Chris, I'll go ahead and pass it to you. And I think we'll need to have Mark jump off the power.
Okay, I hope everyone hear me okay. This is my name is Chris Stone, and I've been in this business a long time. In fact, I know all these people here pretty well. And I've got to thank Mark a lot. Great job for doing the primer and going through all of that about LTO and LTFS and how to archive. That's a great job. Thanks, Mark. So, talk about Zendata. Um, we have three products that range from very, very large systems for people like the BBC, down to smaller post-production houses and small shops. So we have the full range from standalone tape drives for an archive all the way up to thousands of tape cartridges in a big robotic library. So I was going to just go over those today. Our primary product, which is usually aimed at the broadcast television industry, is our SX500 server, and it's based on a DL380 HP unit. It racks up. It has multiple slots, so you can have as much tape drive control as you need, and interface with GigE, 10 GigE, Gang GigE, anything you want. And it will scale up from a small system to to a very large one. So this one here typically is a 115 slots with LTO6 at 2.5 terabytes. Mark didn't talk about LTO6, which is imminent. The LTO standard is now goes out to quite a ways, and so LTO6 is going to be available very, very soon. In fact, it is just about. There's still no pricing from anybody on the market, but it will be 2.5 terabytes per cartridge. Speed's about the same, so not too much change there. So this system here is our base lower end product, which will easily handle this size of medium-sized library, around 285 terabytes for this one. Then we have small 1U appliances, and these are designed for post-production work. They go with the same 24 slot libraries that are readily available from multiple places, from Dell or IBM or HP in this case, and they'll handle small 24 slot, 50 slot libraries. Again, works very, very cost effective, very simple. But they all work the same way as for Zendata. We look like a standard network share, and I'll get into that in a little bit here. Then our entry-level products are our workstation software, which works with a standalone tape drive, external drive, works on a Windows 7 computer, don't need anything fancy at all, and it allows people to browse and search all LTO cartridges that have been archived on the tape. So, what makes Zendata look like it does and make it easy to use? What we do is we take a Windows server or a Windows 7 computer, take some RAID or a hard disk cache, and a standalone tape drive or a tape library, and we present it and make it look like a standard Windows file system over your network. So what you see is just a standard disk drive on a network, and that's it. It's very, very simple to use. You don't need to learn how to do anything. There's no training required. Simply just move files over onto the disk cache, and we take care of it. And so there we go, and that's how it looks. We take the server, a robotic tape library, cartridges that are stored on the shelf, and they just look like a standard disk drive. And it makes it very easy to talk to things. You don't need anything special for most applications. If you can archive, if your application you can save to a disk drive, then you can probably work with us. It uses CIFS SMB or FTP as the transfer medium, and just looks very standard. There are a couple of places that need special interfaces. One of them is the old Sundance automation software for TVs and TV stations, and that was got purchased by Avid, and that it can't really talk to a standard hard disk. So we've introduced a workflow module to work with them, and the other one for harmonics, the old Onion for their MAS. So those are two modules that do require something other than the standard file system interface. Because we look like a regular standard disk drive to everybody, it makes it very, very easy for asset managed applications, editing software to just archive to us. And so there's no special tools required for any of these people. You just can archive and restore from the Zen data system. There's a few more here. As you can see, it goes from the low end here all the way up to the big guys. So very, very easy to work with. Okay, so all of our tapes and the LTO tapes and the disk cache look like a standard Windows logical drive letter. Just D:, E:, whatever you want to call it. So you can archive and restore directly from a media asset management system, television station automation. You can do it drag and drop through Windows Explorer or from Mac with a Finder. For Mac clients, we handle all of the resource data fork issues, and you just see a shared disk mounted up as the SMB share on the desktop. So it makes it just as easy to do that too. We actually have a range of servers that come based on the DL380 HP chassis running Windows 2008, and will support pretty well everybody's tape library. I think that's most of the big guys. There's a few little ones around that that we don't see them very often. So this is most of the people that we work with. We can either have fiber channel or serial attached SCSI as the interface. We have three models here. One is our base model, which uses 2 terabytes of RAID as the cache at the front end. Then we have a higher performance model for bigger libraries, more throughput. Runs about a 6 terabyte RAID. And then we use, for the high-end systems, we'll run an external RAID that will go up to 100 plus terabytes. So here's a typical small system. 50-slot tape library, Zen data archive server, software is already loaded on it, 4 gig ports out of the network, ganged, off we go. And the tape drive, there'll be two tape drives in there. Can get 4 in these, but you don't get 50 slots. Then next system up, more RAID cache, more RAM, faster performance processors, and typically larger tape libraries, several hundred slot region. And then to the large systems with external RAID cache, dual systems, and these can go up to 10,000 slot libraries if you need to. Not too often people need that, but we can go that way too. So it's very basic. We archive and restore to LTO tape using standard network. We keep the file and folder structure that you had, so it looks just the same. We support the regular protocols, both Windows and Mac clients, and we also have a self-describing tar format for maximum performance. The tar format is very, very good. It makes it very easy to do really good archives. And we add a catalog on the tape as well, so that each tape can be transferred between different locations and we can read that tar format. And we also have LTFS as an option as well. And as Mark pointed out, a lot of customers will do their primary archive on tar, and then move it over to an LTFS format to send it somewhere else to give to a customer, to just because it's very easy to move around. The other nice thing about the Zen Data System is that because it looks like a standard Windows file system, the security is this, the permissions and access and everything is just the same as the standard Active Directory Windows security model. So it makes it really easy for IT people to manage and to set up. So some of the things that you can do with an archive: replication allows you to do multiple copies, as many as you want, on the tapes. These you can take off-site for disaster recovery. You can give to a customer, anything you want. Or you can just leave them in the tape library, it actually says there. We can support partial file restores from those asset management programs or editing systems that require it. We can optimize with an LTO system. We can optimize file restores. So if there's a whole load of requests coming in for files to be restored, clips to be restored, we'll look at them, see that check the order that they're on the tape, and we'll bring them back into the linear sequence. Because they're laid down linearly on the tape, we'll bring them back in the sequence to minimize tape transfer and tape movement. You can export tapes out of the tape library. As Mark pointed out, it's pretty good to, you can take a lot of tapes offline. Many of our customers don't want to do that, but a lot do. And so you can use a much smaller tape library system for your archive, export the tapes that you've archived out onto the shelf, and they all still show as though they're on the standard Windows file system that we share out. So even if they're stored on the shelf, it looks like they're there on that disk. Then if somebody tries to get one of them back, we'll send an email saying, clip so-and-so is on barcode tape 21, put it in the mail slot of the library or put it in the standalone drive, and you can then just bring the clip back from, restore it back from cartridges stored on the shelf. We also support spanning the files across LTO cartridges, and we do it for both TAR and LTFS. We make it very easy to repack the LTO cartridges to get space back. And somebody deletes a file that they don't really need it anymore, we can go back and look at those spaces on the tape and repack the active archives and move them from one tape to another to free up space, and then make that tape available to be reused or or not. Sometimes people don't want to do it, but then it also makes it very easy to go from one LTO level to another. So I mentioned earlier that LTO 6 is coming out. One thing that Mark didn't touch on is that with the LTO format, you can read and write one generation previously, and you can read 2 generations previously. So the upcoming LTO 6 tape drives that are coming out right now can read and write LTO 5 tapes, and they can read LTO 4 tapes. So, and typically the gap between each version is 2+ years. It just depends on where it is, but it's been 18 months to 2 years between each version. 3 on some of them. So you don't have to do anything. You can still keep using the LTO 4 tape drives as LTO 4 tapes if you want to, but if you want to move up, we make it very, very easy for people to upgrade by changing the tape drives in the library or standalone tape drives, and then converting the older tapes to tape formats and new ones. Mark also talked about LTFS, and I've got some more slides on that. It's got a lot of buzz in the industry. It's designed for simple and easy interchange between computers that have an LTFS tape drive and in the IBM format. However, there are issues with it. And one of the things that we've done, just like Cache, is that we've enhanced the LTFS performance. And when you do that, it makes it pretty good. If you don't do it, it's not the best thing for archiving, I would say. We also do automatically keep track of the metadata backup so that if anything happens to your system, it can be recovered from 3 different places. You have the catalogs on each tape, which you can always go to, but we also back up the information about what's on each tape other places as well. And we have a comprehensive information system that tells you what's going on, that's client-based, that you can just see if there's a problem or anything else, or just know about if the tape's offline through our alert module. Okay, so I want to go through this. This is a bit much here, but let's see what we can go through. So basically, LTFS, as Mark said, makes this tape looks like a disk volume. But again, some issues. The standard LTFS application, the implementation, is designed to work in a single user environment. Multiple users or processes trying to write or read to that tape drive from the tape will get terrible performance. One, because there's no disk cache. The other that happens is that it's the LTFS implementation, the standard one, will interleave blocks of data. So, for example, if we've got four people doing post-production work, and they archive at the end of the day, and they just kick off and send a file to an LTFS tape drive, individual blocks of those files will get mixed up on the tape because they will be archived as the LTFS tape drive receives them. And when you try and restore, that results in unacceptable performance. The other thing that happens is you will see very, very slow performance because you can't really treat a tape drive, a tape cartridge, as a random access device. It's not that. And without any disk cache on front, it'll just be terrible. But as Mark in Cache does, we do the same thing. We have a disk cache at the front, and that eliminates all of those problems. LTFS does not really manage offline tapes. It doesn't handle it. There's no optimization of restoring files. It doesn't look through them, sort them in the necessary, get them in the linear order you need. It just goes through the lists and tries to restore them. So it doesn't. It's probably not the best. I think there's another slide here. It's not the best best tape to use for a primary archive, and tar is much better. So by offering both tar and LTFS, you can select what you want to do. It makes it much easier for you to work on your workflows and get things sorted out, and to still have a good solid archive that you need to rely on. Okay, so I talked about the SX500, the biggest servers. This is our appliance. It's a small 1U product. It's aimed primarily at video production, post-production houses. Typically, people using Avid, Adobe, Final Cut, small systems. Works great with lower cost MAMs that don't have a large requirements, and it works as an excellent second DR site, so that you don't have to have a large primary library with a big robotic tape library there. You can run a small system and just run a low cost appliance as your second device. Runs on Windows 7. We have the alert module on there, just like the big guys. It's an optimized server 1U class appliance, and it's good for up to 50 slot library with 2 LTO drives. So, you know, that's quite a size, good size. Same things, archive to restore from LTO via standard network share. Does all the same things as the big guys do, but at a much lower price point. So, you know, the difference is that this one will probably archive. You can archive restore probably 2 to 3 terabytes a day with an appliance versus 7 to 10 with a larger server. And there you go. It comes in 6 flavors. You can use it with a single drive, 2 drives, 25 slot library with 1 or 2 drives, or up to 50 slot library. Then we have our Zendata 6 workstation software. This product does not look like a shared file system over the network. It looks more like a mounted drive. So this product is ideal for very low volume archives, small manual process. It works well as an economical DR site, and as a primary as an ingest device out in the field. Each of the it mounts up on the Windows 7 desktop, and you can see the tape drive there, just like you would with a CD drive or a USB. The difference being, though, that if you put the tape in and we archive to it and take the tape out, we still keep track of all the tapes. So you can see the current tape that's in the drive, and you can see from the desktop a file system that shows all of the tapes that have been archived in the drive, so you can find your files. But it's a manual process. It's very inexpensive. And the tapes are completely compatible with the big systems. So you can archive with one of these, be out in the field. We have one customer, a couple of customers actually, that have red cameras, and they are shooting, looking on a SAN, checking to see what the content's like. If they like it, they just drag and drop it over to the workstation here, and carry on with shooting their scenes. When they're done, they go back to the studio, take the tape cartridge, put it into one of our larger systems, and simply right-click on that tape, and it imports the Windows file structure that's what's stored on there, and it's just merged into the main system. And the beauty is they never have to move high-res content over any network. It's on the tape. So LTO desktop archives, very large capacity, as many tapes as you want. High speed, it's low cost, searchable. No need to transfer high-res content. Very good. And as I said, you can easily upgrade. Once you've got archived these tapes, if you get a large number of tapes on the shelf and want to go to a small tape library or a large tape library, you can just ingest them in and off you go. Again, same thing, either TAR or LTFS format. Looks as a DR station, ideal for transfer into a bigger system, and you know, in LTFS format, it'd be a great thing for just giving to customers or using for transfer. Okay, and here's an example of how you do that. So you can archive to tape out in the field, and then move them to the facility, put them in the library. Either post-production or an ingest. And on the other side, you can export out and use a low-cost DR site with a standard tape drive, little system, and you know, it could be a remote location, and then you have a complete system there. So basically, we have a full range of archive solutions, from desktop systems to large multi-petabyte libraries. We span the whole range. It's all compatible. It can all interchangeable. So you have a very nice solid product that's been around for a long time. As Tyler said, we have products in 50 countries, hundreds and hundreds of installations worldwide, and and it's in both in standard tar or LTFS format, so that you can always get your data back. Okay, so it's a very, very good, stable archive system. Well, I think that's all I have there. Yes. Okay. All right. So go back to here.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Chris. Questions, feel free to post them either in the Q&A portion or the chat portion, and we'll make sure we get back to those after the next presentation, or if you shoot one over right now, we might have time to get to it. All right, so I don't see any questions, so we'll move on to the next presenter. Are you there, Sergio?
Yes, I'm here, Tyler.
All right, perfect. So let me do a brief intro of Quantum real quick. So Quantum's been a longtime partner of ours. They have approximately 2,000 employees worldwide. Over the past 30 years, they've become some global expert in data protection and big data management solutions. They have more than 50,000 customers worldwide, and they help to cost effectively manage data growth and gain maximum value from their digital assets. So Sergio Soto's here with us. He's a solutions architect at Quantum. He has a long history in the industry. I'll just touch briefly. He worked in architecture, network, and storage infrastructure for Generate Digital Media Corp. They're one of the leading companies in stereo 3D conversion. And then he's designed and architectured mini studios and deployed sound systems at companies like Bodog and Emily Carr University, Goldtooth Creative, J&B Post, MGM Studios, etc. It goes on and on. So we're glad you're here, Sergio, and with that, I'll go ahead and pass it over to you.
Thank you very much, Tyler. I want to thank you, Julie and Tyler, for taking care of organizing this event. And thank you very much, Chris and Mark. All the information was actually quite valuable. So I want to try to go really quickly because I see we're getting short in time. So I want to talk a little bit about Quantum and who we are, what we do, and why this is important for you. As Tyler was mentioning, well, we are global experts in data protection and big data management, and we've been providing customers with industry-leading solutions for storing and protecting information across physical, virtual, and cloud environments for a long time. But we also provide solutions for what we call tier storage, which is related to most demanding big data environments, M&E being one of them. And for us at Quantum, it is about delivering unmatched value using specialized expertise, a unique interior architecture to lifecycle management, and obviously continuous innovation to help our customers to get from point A to point B on their own terms. So using this approach, we come up with a whole myriad of products, a whole family of unique offerings, going from data protection to big data, and of course cloud. One of the things is with all this is that we have seen that different customer segments are converging fast into using all these different technologies in order to protect their data and in order to manage their data in a more efficient way. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about our big data solutions. And our big data solutions are intended to allow you to store, manage, and protect massive files and petabytes of data. These are typically deployed in a very high-scale environments like M&E. And in this case, well, we at Quantum are pioneers in the high-performance streaming of large files. data lifecycle management and archiving solutions. One of the products that we sell that and most of the M&E industry is actually well aware of it is our file system called StoreNext, which is it's not only a software, but now it has become more of a product portfolio of different appliances that are used by some of the largest media companies, leading-edge research firms, and federal governments. But we, sorry, I'm not changing. Julie, can you change the screen? Sorry, I wasn't looking at the screen how you want. So can we move to the next slide, please? Perfect. Thank you. I want to talk also about how we are innovating, and we're also bringing new technologies. When we think about archiving, we're introducing new technologies like wide area storage solutions are basically using a new technology called data dispersal, where we can distribute the content across multiple sites and multiple different geographical locations as well. On the data protection side, I mean, I don't want to get too deep into this because obviously this is all about archiving, but I just want to mention that we have a whole bunch of solutions for data protection, like appliances that can leverage on the deduplication technology, and obviously Quantum being one of the leaders in deduplication, using technologies like variable length block deduplication, and which obviously offers the best-in-class performance at the most affordable prices. We also have a whole bunch of products for virtualized environments where we can use or leverage on the utilities from VMware in order to optimize the backups and movement of those VMs to multiple sites, to different locations, and also create a way more efficient backup. Finally, with regard of tape automation, we are continuously innovating, being Quantum one of the three found members from the LTO consortium. We know tape, I mean, it's in our blood. We are introducing new technologies like dual robotics for high ability, especially in our enterprise solutions or offerings. And we have other technologies like EDLM, which is policy-based media integrity checking tool that I'm going to talk about a little bit deeper later on. And finally, cloud. Just I just want to mention that we recently introduced our Q Cloud offering that it is presented to our customers as a backup as a service or disaster recovery as a service solution, and obviously it can also be thought as a possible archive. So can we change to the next slide, please? So StoreNext. I want to focus on this presentation a little bit about StoreNext because this is where we actually present a lot of value to our customers. And StoreNext, from the point of view of proven solution for tiering data and archiving data across the whole ecosystem of your data. Can we change the screen, please? So I want to talk a little bit about the problem nowadays, especially in the M&E industry. It's the whole data tsunami. Can we click next? There you go. Okay. So, I mean, as everybody knows, organizations, not only on the M&E industry, but in general, are capturing and converting more and more content into digital data. Data types such as audio, video, which used to be considered nice to have on a company website, they're starting to become an essential marketing, training, and communication tool. This is one of the reasons why setting strategies to archive data in an automated, reliable, and cost-effective way is emerging as the right approach for all the organizations in a wide variety of industries. And I just want to mention that when it is done properly, archive data is inexpensively but reliably stored and easily accessible. Can we switch? Thanks. Now, I know we already hear a lot of information about archiving from Mark and from Chris, and I want to thank both. But I want to talk a little bit about the two types of archives that are in the industry. And when I'm talking about two different types of archives, is there are what is called an active archive or online archive, where the data has to be readily accessible, and a cold or offline archive where the data can be stored safely and economically, but it might take a considerable amount of time to retrieve it. And in some instances, all that time is money, right? That is being wasted, because it might take, in base cases, hours. In some other cases, it could take up to days in order to retrieve it, depending on where that tape is located. But in either way of those two different types of archives, something that you guys need to be aware is that this is not a static process, because obviously over the course of time, storage media formats tend to become obsolete. So the process to transfer from the old media to the new can be extremely overwhelming, and not to mention extremely time-consuming, leading to an initial problem on how do I preserve the content for a long period of time. And this is why StoreNext, because of its inherent user flexibility and the fact that you can share it across multiple OSs and heterogeneous storage, StoreNext is the #1 solution for sharing, tiering, and archiving data for rich media and enterprise media. So really quickly, in a nutshell, and at a very high level, StoreNext, it is a high-performance shelf file system with an optional data tiering and archiving component called Storage Manager. Can we jump into the next slide, please? Perfect. So with StoreNext, you get the best of two worlds. You get not only a SAN and a NAS benefit, but a whole lot more, because it provides extremely high performance file sharing of large files, and it allows for concurrent access across multiple OSs, including Linux, Windows, Macs, and Unix. It has very true scalability for multiple petabytes of data in a single namespace, and it's one of the best and most efficient archiving systems in the industry. And when I'm talking about one of the most efficient archiving systems in the industry, it's because we have a component called Storage Manager, or Storage Management, which is a storage management tool, which is intended for file management and data protection. And it is based on a policy. It's based on a user policy basis, where you can decide when and how to move the data from one tier to the other. And when I'm talking about tiers, I'm talking about we can choose to move the data from my primary storage, which could be the very expensive storage, to more cost-effective storage like MAID or GBOD, or I don't know, a whole bunch of drives, or even tape, if you will, as treating tape as another disk, or as another tier disk. Talking about the offering as a NAS, well, we offer true scalability from a NAS perspective, because we can support up to 1,000 clients, petabytes of data, and the highest throughput in the industry as well, with up to gigabytes per second when we're using 10 gigabit connection to the client. The way we do this is we use a very efficient and reliable protocol called distributed LAN client, which is up to 3 times faster than NFS or SIS. And as we move, you'll see when I'm heading to when I'm talking about StorNext and why it is so important from an archive perspective. Can we move to the next slide, please? Thank you. So, because archiving has become very strategic initiative to support business goals in all industries, everybody should consider a number of variables and choose carefully among the different solutions in the market today. As I was stating before, well, Quantum, we've been in the market for almost 30 years. I mean, being one of the members of the LTO consortium, we know tape. We know how to move data very efficient to a very cost-effective tier. And this is just one of the reasons why Quantum StorNext solutions give organizations the features that they need to safely and easily implement a very comprehensive archiving strategy without going through all the pain associated to the implementation and deployment of such solutions, right? Because, I mean, I know we have a whole myriad of archiving solutions in the market, but it's not just about what is the cheapest way to get there, but sometimes you have to see it from a more strategic point of view, where what is the best way to get me there, and not only to keep me there for a long time. Can we switch to the next slide, please? So, tier storage. Why tier storage for an archive? Can we move to the next one, please? Well, tier storage because, well, there are multiple considerations and implications when considering an archiving solution, like what is the value associated to your data? What is the future value of that data? Maybe I want to create new revenue streams out of all the assets that I already have or I already create, especially if I'm in the M&E industry, like visual effects houses, where maybe they got a lot of artists who created a whole bunch of textures, special effects that maybe they can be repurposed in other movies, right? But if I don't have the chance to actually keep that information for a long time, then I mean, I'm not able to take the value out of that information. So, so in this particular slide deck, the aligning tiers with data value. If you can see in this graph, the red line represents the value of your data over time and helping you assign a proper value. And as you follow the red arrow down from left to right, you can see where the value drops sharply. In the left side of the graph, primary disk has been designed to store most of the data and to have it readily accessible. In the right side of the graph, you will see that tape has been used to store data in a more cost-effective way. And if we can click to go to the next slide, please. There you go. In the red text, we outline some of the examples of data in each area. And as you can see, people have been trying to extend their primary storage to address the area of in the middle. Like they're actually using their primary tier 1 storage, you know, to kind of create a data protection, archiving, aka solution. But what happens is it becomes extremely expensive. But what happens when they're actually just trying to use tape as an option? Well, maybe sometimes the content does not deliver the required access to get benefit from the data. So I just want to present here these two different options. Where one, where probably it's very costly to keep the data in my tier 1 storage, but also on the other hand, if I try to move everything just to tape, it could be extremely difficult for my artists, especially if they don't know how to retrieve those assets efficiently into the ecosystem in order to try to work with them again, right? So this is just one of the many reasons why choosing the right technology is extremely important for a proper archiving solution. Can we move to the next one, please? Okay, so one of the things that Quantum has done is we came up with different offerings that we call AEL, which stands for Archive Enabled Libraries. And this is basically tape libraries that offer some extra features, especially when we are talking about an automation for our data protection strategies or for our archiving strategies. So what are the values or the benefits behind the AEL solutions from Quantum? Well, one of them is that we provide customers that need a big nearline archive with a simple and unified solution. It comes with what we call a storage manager, storage steering software built in, which provides automated policy-based storage steering, which it helps you place the data in the appropriate tier of storage. It also comes with technology called EDLM, or Extended Data Life Management, which provides you with the ability to check the data integrity on each tape and making sure that the data will be available and accessible when you need it. And what it does, it basically it goes and checks all the tapes in your tape library, and even tapes that are probably vaulted inside the library, or maybe when you're bringing tapes from your vaulting site into a tape library, it will go and check the integrity of those tapes, making sure that all the data inside those tapes is reliable. And if the system finds anything that is it seems like a suspect tape, what it does, it actually triggers a process where either tell the administrator that there's a problem with the tape, and either there's a manual process where the administrator can actually clone that tape, or when it's being used with StoreNext, we can automate that process. So there's because this is all completely policy driven, there's no administration overhead needed. So and other interesting part is that we provide a lower TCO because we license this product based on what we call a slot-based pricing model instead of capacity, and that way we allow our customers to refresh tape media over the years. So in a sense that people who right now is moving from LTO5 to LTO6, there's no additional costs or licensing costs for that matter. That way they can leverage on more capacity and higher speed without actually having to spend more money on it. Can we switch to the next one, please? And this is just an example of the product portfolio from Quantum. As you know, we have a whole myriad of tape offerings, going from just single drives all the way to our enterprise model, like the Scalar i6000. And in this particular case, I mean, we can go from very small amounts of slots, starting from 41 slots all the way up to over 7,000 slots. And again, we can start from a minimum of 3 drives all the way up to 96 drives. So in a sense, we can have solutions that can cover very minimum requirements from just a small amount of terabytes in my whole ecosystem up to multiple petabytes in the long run. In the case of the AEL 6000, we can support up to over 45 petabytes of information. Can we switch to the next one, please? I want to talk a little bit about how the tape integrity checking works in StoreNext archive-enabled library. And the way it works, like I was explaining before, it provides a policy-based data integrity checking for all the tapes in the library, but also for all my vaulted tapes, either within the library or outside my library. And the way it works is we scan every tape periodically. We have a drive that is assigned specifically for that task, and we make sure that the data is readable and there's no degradation in the tape. With that being said, we can create policies where we tell the library what to do once it finds a suspect tape, whether to trigger an alert to the admin to let him know that he needs to go there, retrieve that tape, maybe clone it with the backup application or whatever, or if we're talking about a whole ecosystem where StoreNext is being used as the primary storage as well, we can create an automated policy where StoreNext will go grab that tape, duplicate it, and eject the suspect tape. So, in a nutshell, StoreNext AEL products provide one of the industry most reliable long-term archiving solutions in the industry. It is a tightly integrated hardware and software solution, so it is very reliable. It is self-healing, high-capacity archive intended for the long-term storage of your nearline content. Can we switch to the next one, please? So I want to highlight some of the other key benefits of archive-enabled libraries, starting with the Storage Manager feature. And as I said, we include the Storage Manager feature with the library in a sense that we can do file management and data protection without actually having to have a backup application or any other data mover in between. The data movement is set by the user based on specific policies, either for archiving or for long-term data protection, in a sense that we can specify multiple copies of a single file, like up to 4 copies of a single file, and we can keep up to 45 versions of those files. Other thing that I want to mention is that Storage Manager is completely disk agnostic, so users can choose from their own disk vendor, being Meta, BMC, any fiber channel array will work, really. And of course, we work with any other tape library in the industry. And the way we present the disk to the client is they will see when they're actually using the storage manager, we present this as a local storage, so it looks like 1 petabyte large C drive to the user. And because of all the data movement is policy driven, it is extremely transparent to the user, and it can be set to move the data based on time policies or based on file access patterns, in a sense that if the file hasn't been touched for X amount of time, we move the file from my tier 1 storage to my tier 3 storage, which could be my tape library, which is the most cost effective storage, obviously. I think we're running out of time, so I'm going to try to speed up. Can we just jump to the next one, please? Sorry, can we jump to the next slide, please? Thank you. So, in a summary, the Quantum StorNext archive-enabled library is the most reliable tape solution on the market because it's the only solution that proactively performs data integrity checks in the background with tapes that are either online or offline. It is extremely and incredibly scalable. And with LTO6 media, the archive-enabled library can scale up to 45 petabytes. And obviously, when other new LTO technologies become available, our users can effectively double or triple their capacity of their archive. And well, obviously, because well, we are one of the oldest company in the industry dealing with tape. We know tape, and I just want to mention right now, Quantum is the first company to actually have availability for LTO6. We are starting to ship LTO6 to our customers, and in the case of our portfolio with the archive-enabled libraries, we will be shipping LTO6 in February. But for any other product that is not part of a StorNext family, we're already shipping LTO6. Can we move to the next one, please? So archiving in media and entertainment industry and the enterprise video. I want to talk a little bit about some case studies, some successful stories with customers where there were some specific requirements about how to move the data in a very efficient way, an automated way, and something that will avoid complications for the users in order how to retrieve that data. So customers where they wanted to have what we call an active or hot archive, where from a user perspective, the file is still readily available in a sense that they can actually see the file representation within the file system. And the way we do it is we stop the file within the file system, so it actually looks like the file is there, but we truncate the file and move it to tape. So when the user wants to retrieve that information, the only thing they need to do is go through the file system view, locate the file, or using their own media asset management tool, they can locate the file, click on it, or retrieve it from the media asset management tool that the customer might have. And the StorNext will go and retrieve that information from tape, move it back to tier 1, let it work, and then if we have a policy for that specific file or for those specific assets, if after a while that file hasn't been touched, well, they will be moved back to tape. Can we switch to the next one?
Hey, Sergio, we've got about 2 minutes, so if you can get one of the studies in that.
Okay, perfect. So let's go back. Well, can we skip then these 2 slides and let's talk about actually one more, another one, please. So I want to talk a little bit about the Turner case. In this particular scenario, obviously we're talking about a big broadcaster environment. They have different networks with its own content and obviously different playout systems. And in the old configuration, obviously, well, they have what it's called a pod concept, where they had isolated storage islands or aisles, and each one was responsible for ingesting and managing all its content. And this actually created a lot of overhead and a lot of duplication. And also from an archiving perspective, it was becoming just a completely nightmare. So what we did with them is we introduced StorNext, we introduced our StorNext archive-enabled library, and we were able to give all the different users, all the different groups, single namespace for their primary storage, where they can just go ingest the content, then pass it on along to the editors, and then they can work on that content. Once it's done, it goes to broadcast, and once that file is not needed anymore, it gets truncated and moved to tape. But from a user perspective, they can still see the file living on the file system. So it is quite a neat solution for them, and that was one of the reasons why they choose StoreNext as their archiving option and solution. Um, and I think that's, I mean, we have uh, other examples of customers. We just recently sold solutions for companies like the Calgary Flames, where again they want to keep a completely archived system of all the hockey games since they started to collect that information, those assets, and also have the ability to have all the multiple editors to work with the fastest throughput file system. So what we did is we introduced StoreNext as the primary storage with just a very small footprint of fast disk, and then we integrate an archive-enabled library attached to StoreNext with Storage Manager. And the way it works is, as the editors work with their assets, they can ingest, edit, and then do some color grading. Once the product is done, uh, because they don't have a lot of space on the primary storage, they need to move that to a more cost-effective tier, which in this case is the tape. So based on those policies, after a week, 2 weeks that those files are not being accessed, that StoreNext takes care of that and moves it back to tape, and it keeps it there for whatever time the customer requires. In some cases, obviously, they want to keep an archive forever. So what happens is when they're running out of slots, because obviously it's becoming larger and larger, the only thing they need to do is they upside the tapes or bold the tapes. And again, StoreNext keeps a track of where that data asset is. And when they need to retrieve something from a tape that has been vaulted, well, once the customer clicks on that, StoreNext is going to let the customer, okay, we need to grab that tape that it is upside right now and just put it back in. But if the tape is within the tape library, from a point of view, from a user perspective, it's been treated as a file, as a video that is living already on primary storage.
Good.
So I think that's everything from my part. I want to thank everybody for being patient. It's been a long morning, and thank you everybody.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sergio. We really appreciate it. As we think of our clients, we know it can be a daunting task to try to find someone you trust with your workflow and your data. And we're kind of in that same boat with vendors and partners that we choose. We can't afford to partner with someone who's not going to stay with us or the client long term and help work out any issues that arise or answer questions or work on warranties. And these are 3 companies that we have a long history with and trust very much. So again, want to thank Mark Oslin with Cache, Chris Stone with Zen Data, and Sergio Soto with Quantum, companies with a great track record and solid people who work with us to build powerful workflows. And we appreciate their time. And as for the attendees, we really appreciate your time as well. We know it's been a long morning, as Sergio mentioned. We're happy to do any consulting if you guys have a lot of any questions about what you've heard. I know there's a lot of information was thrown out this morning, and we're happy to help you guys determine what would be best for your workflow. And we can do the whole thing from conception all the way to integration and installation, or we're happy just to consult or even just sell the gear. Whatever step you want us to be part in, we're happy to do that. And again, thank you very much.